In the early mornings, when the cool mountain breeze slipped quietly through the bamboo slats of the windows, Lila would wake before the rest of the house. It was not out of obligation, but habit, one shaped by years of listening to the rhythm of the mountain, the way it breathed before the sun rose over its gentle, sleeping form. From their small home nestled at the foot of Mount Makiling, she could see the silhouette of the mountain in the pale blue dawn. Her grandmother used to say that if you looked closely, you could see the outline of a woman lying on her back, the gentle slope of her forehead, the curve of her chest, the bend of her knees. Maria Makiling, watching over them all. Lila would wrap a light shawl over her shoulders and step onto the cool wooden floor, careful not to wake her younger brother, Mateo, who slept on a woven bainig beside her. The house still held the faint scent of last night's garlic and soy sauce, softened by the sweetness of dried pandan leaves hanging in the corner. In the kitchen, she began with the small rituals that made the morning feel whole. She rinsed rice in a clay pot, the grains clicking softly against one another as the water turned cloudy. Outside, a rooster crowed, answered by another further down the road. Somewhere, a neighbor's radio crackled to life, playing an old kundaman that drifted in and out with the wind. Her mother joined her not long after, tying her hair into a loose bun as she yawned. "You're up early," she murmured, her voice still thick with sleep. Lila smiled, handing her a cup of water. "The mountain is already awake too," her mother chuckled softly. "Maria is always awake." They worked together in easy silence. Lila sliced ripe tomatoes and salted duck eggs for a simple enchilada, while her mother fried dried fish in a pan, the sizzling sound filling the room. The smell was sharp and comforting, mingling with the steam rising from the rice. Mateo stumbled in soon after, rubbing his eyes. "It's cold," he complained, though he grinned as he wrapped his arms around Lila from behind. "Go wash your face," she said, nudging him toward the basin outside. By the time the sun began to stretch its golden fingers over the mountain, the table was set. They ate together, the two of them, with quiet conversation and the soft clinking of spoons against enamel plates. After breakfast, their day unfolded in the slow, steady way it always did. Lila and her mother went to the small garden behind the house. The soil was still damp from the night's dew, cool beneath their fingers as they pulled weeds and checked on the vegetables. Eggplants hung like glossy ornaments, while chili peppers peeked out shyly beneath their leaves. Mateo followed, carrying a small tin pail. His task was to water the plants, though he often ended up splashing more on his feet than on the soil. "Be gentle," their mother reminded him gently. "Like this?" he asked, tilting the pail with exaggerated care. Lila laughed softly. "It's as if you were just stirring tea." The breeze moved through the banana trees, their wide leaves rustling like whispered secrets. Somewhere deeper in the greenery, a bird sang a clear, lilting note that seemed to echo. Their grandmother used to say that Maria Makiling loved music, that she walked through the forest at dawn, her footsteps so light that only the leaves noticed, that she listened to the wind, to the rivers, to the small lives moving quietly beneath the canopy. Lila paused for a moment, wiping her hands on her skirt, and looked toward the mountain. The air felt different, then cooler, perhaps, or simply more alive. "Did you hear that?" Mateo asked suddenly. She tilted her head. "What?" He frowned slightly. "Seems like someone is singing." Their mother smiled without looking up. "It's just a bird." But Lila wasn't so sure. By mid-morning, the sun had grown warmer, and they moved inside. The house, shaded by tall trees, remained comfortably cool. Lila swept the floor with a Wallace tinkting, the soft scratching sound rhythmic and soothing. Dust gathered in small piles, carried away with practiced ease. Her mother sat by the window, mending a tear in one of Mateo's shirts. The needle moved in and out of the fabric with quiet precision, her brow slightly furrowed in concentration. Mateo sprawled on the floor with a piece of charcoal and a scrap of paper, drawing what he claimed was a dragon, though it looked more like a lizard with wings. "Is Maria a dragon?" he asked suddenly. Lila glanced over. "Nope, she is a fairy. But she can be a dragon if she likes to?" Their mother laughed softly. "Maybe, if she wishes to." Mateo nodded seriously, adding more lines to his drawing. "So she is a dragon fairy." The hours passed gently. Lila spent some time weaving a small basket from strips of dried palm, her fingers moving slowly, feeling each bend and fold. The texture was rough at first, then softened as the fibers yielded to her touch. Later, she sat by the window with a worn notebook, writing small thoughts that came to her about the breeze, about the way the sunlight danced through the leaves, about the quiet feeling of being watched over, not in a frightening way, but in something warmer, older. When the afternoon heat softened again, they prepared merienda. Lila mashed ripe bananas with a fork, mixing them with a bit of sugar and flour. Her mother heated oil in a pan, and soon the air filled with the sweet, comforting scent of frying banana fritters. Mateo hovered nearby, eyes bright. "Is it ready yet?" he asked for the third time. "Still hot," Lila said, though she handed him a small piece to cool in his palm. They ate on the porch, the wooden steps warm beneath them. A neighbor passed by, greeting them with a cheerful "Magandang hapon," and they replied in kind. Clouds began to gather around the mountain's peak, soft and slow, like a shawl being draped over its shoulders. Will it rain? Mateo wondered. Maybe later, their mother said. The thought of rain brought a quiet excitement. There was something special about the way the world changed when the rain came, the smell of the earth, the sound of drops against the roof, the way everything felt washed and new. As evening approached, they began preparing dinner. Lila helped slice vegetables while her mother stirred a pot of sinigang, the sour aroma of tamarind rising with the steam. Mateo was tasked with feeding their small flock of chickens, scattering grains as they clucked and pecked eagerly. Slowly, Lila called out, "Don't run! They're chasing me!" He laughed, darting around the yard. The first drops of rain fell just as they brought the food to the table. Soft at first, then steadier, tapping gently against the roof in a steady rhythm. They ate together, the warm broth of the sinigang comforting against the cool air. Outside, the garden drank deeply, leaves glistening under the dim light. After dinner, they tidied up together. Lila washed the dishes, her hands moving through warm, soapy water, while her mother dried them and stacked them neatly. Mateo wiped the table, though he left streaks that made Lila smile and quietly follow behind him. When everything was done, they sat together in the main room. The rain had softened to a gentle drizzle, and the night air carried the scent of wet earth and leaves. Their mother lit a small candle, its flame flickering softly. "Tell us a story," Mateo said, curling up beside Lila. Their mother smiled. "What story would you like to hear?" "Story about Maria." There was a pause, the kind that held both memory and something deeper. They said, their mother began softly, "Maria Makiling walks the mountain every night. She checks if everything is good, the trees, animals, people." Lila listened, the familiar story wrapping around her like a blanket. "If you are good-natured," her mother continued, "she will bless you with a gift, but you will never see her. She is just like a wind. You can feel, but you cannot touch or see." Mateo's eyes grew heavy as he listened, his breathing slowing. "But she is always there," Lila added softly. Outside, the rain stopped completely. leaving behind a deep, peaceful silence. The mountain stood dark against the sky, its shape softened by mist. Later, when Mateo was asleep and their mother had gone to bed, Lila stepped outside once more. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the faint sound of dripping water from the leaves. She walked a little way toward the garden, her bare feet quiet on the damp earth. For a moment, everything felt still. Then, just at the edge of her hearing, she thought she heard a soft voice, like a song carried on the breeze. Not words, exactly, but something gentle and familiar. Lila closed her eyes, letting the sound settle around her. "Salamat," she whispered, though she wasn't sure why. The breeze brushed past her, cool and light, like a hand resting briefly on her shoulder. When she opened her eyes, the mountain loomed quietly in the distance, unchanged, and yet somehow alive. She smiled to herself, then turned back toward the warm glow of their home, where the simple, steady rhythm of their lives continued, watched over, perhaps by something kind and unseen, in the cool mountain breeze.